So you're running for office as a politician. The other guy you're running up against is exclaiming that if you vote for me, I'm gonna give you free stuff, more stimulus checks. But you're the proponent of, we're gonna get back on the gold standard. How's that argument ever gonna win against?
Well, it's not going to win. I mean, that's why nobody's making that argument. I mean, if there was a hyperinflation, what would the government do to reinstill confidence in the dollar? Personally, I think the only thing that would really do it would be a return to a gold standard. I mean, I think you have to back the dollar by something. You can't just lop off a few zeros and say, here's a brand new dollar, trust this one. What a lot of these other countries have done that have had high rates of inflation, when they introduce a new currency, maybe they peg it to the dollar, or they do something to try to introduce some external discipline to try to convince the public that, hey, it's different this time. It's not the same peso as it was before or whatever. But, obviously, we're not going to be able to peg our currency to, the euro or, the yen or something like that. So I think the way to reestablish confidence in a fiat currency is to move away from a fiat currency and go back to real currency and say, hey, these new dollars are backed by gold, which, by the way, is the way it used to be before 1971. So we're just going to go back on the gold standard that the country was on until 1971. And now the dollar is once again as good as gold. And here's a new exchange rate, which obviously is not going to be, 40 to 1 or, $40 gets an ounce of gold, or 42, whatever we left it off at. It was 35 for a long time, but then Nixon had a couple of devaluations before severing the link completely. But I think we go back to that. I mean, I just don't see any other way. If we get into a massive, and even without hyperinflation, even just a big drop in the dollar, the way to put in a floor to stop the dollar from falling and to reestablish confidence in the currency is to back it by something, because then there has to be some fiscal discipline. The government just can't print money and stay on a gold standard. I mean, that's why we left the gold standard in 1971, because the government didn't want the fiscal discipline anymore. It wanted to keep running deficits, but they couldn't do it because of the gold standard. So they had to go off the gold standard. So now we have to push the government back on the gold standard, and that will force them to cut government spending and live beyond within their means, and therefore maintain the purchasing power of the currency.
All right. So on the topic of getting back on the gold standard, so you're running for office as a politician. The other guy you're running up against is exclaiming that if you vote for me, I'm going to give you free stuff, more stimulus checks. But you're the proponent of, we're going to get back on the gold standard. How's that argument ever going to win against?
Well, it's not going to win. I mean, that's why nobody's making that argument, because it's a loser, especially in a democracy. No, the public's not going to be ready for a gold standard until it's a complete economic disaster.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
So now you have to fast forward to a different environment where somebody is promising more of the same, and what you've already got is a complete disaster. And somebody says, look, I have an idea that, something different. Instead of just destroying the value of our money and us printing up a bunch of money and giving it to you and it has no value, why don't we go back on a gold standard and change the dynamics here. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to work until the public is desperate enough to respond to it. Because as long as they think they can get something for nothing, that's what they want. But once they realize that they can't get something for nothing, that the promises are worthless or as worthless as the money, then there may be a critical mass of voters that finally wakes up and, is willing to consider alternatives.
I hope you enjoyed this clip from our interview with Peter Schiff. Peter is an economist, financial commentator, millionaire stockbroker, and someone that I really like to take into account his opinions, along with people with other differing economic opinions. You can check out the full interview we did together with the link below, where we went over a ton of cool stuff like inflation, hyperinflation, the Fed, the money printer, the dollar crash, capitalism, socialism, democracy, the gold standard, the creature from Jekyll Island, and a ton more. Really great conversation that we have been getting a lot of great feedback on, which you can check out with the link below or on the screen right now. You can subscribe for more dangerous conversations for dangerous minds just like yourselves with the red button below. It's free, you can dislike, unsubscribe, Leave us your best hate comments whenever you want, so you might as well do it because you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Check out the other interviews we've done on the screen right now. Stay dangerous out there, and we will see you guys in the next one.